Right guys, Monday, we've got 3 runs to do this week to get this plan back on schedule. We're going to do a gentle one today, a little bit longer on Wednesday, and a nice 25k on Saturday. And then we're going to get on to some Q&A. So I'm going to go and do this run. I'll catch you guys in a bit. Right guys, so 3 runs this week. I started out with a 7k, then I did a 10k, then I did 25k. Left a day and a bit between some of them, trying to let that sort of ITB band sciatica hamstring nightmare that I've got settle down a bit, which it seems to have. Touch wood, is only wood, yeah, wood. Yeah, so they were okay. 25k wasn't easy this week, but bearing in mind I've kind of not hit that sort of distance for a long time, I was quite pleased how I finished. So yeah, that's the running this week. Next week's going to be going up again a gear, so stay tuned on that one. But this week's all about the Q&A. Massive thanks to every single person who sent me in a question. We had loads, and I mean loads. Instagram, in the Facebook groups, on Facebook, on Twitter, loads of stuff. So big shout out to everybody who sent in questions. Sorry I couldn't answer all of them, but here's some of the answers to some of them. And I think maybe we'll have to do this one again because, say, the response was unbelievable. So, here they are, Q&A. Well, guys, so the biggest question everybody asked me this week was why the pink and where does the pink come from? So, if you're new to Fordy Runs, we tend to wear a lot of pink. It came from really the fact that I was doing races and events and I wanted my girls, I've got 2 little girls, I wanted them to see me when I was running past. I wanted to be easy to spot. So I chose to wear a pink vest or a pink shirt because, being girls, everything in my house is pink anyway. So having pink on made me stand out a bit from all the other blokes as well, because all the men seem to run in black, blue, fluorescent green, orange, that kind of stuff, but no one really wore pink. So that's where it came from, and that's what it symbolises, as I say, the fact that I've got 2 girls, everything in my house is pink, but also the fact that we stand out and we want to be a little bit different. So next question, I'm going to look at my phone, is from Elsbeth Helen. Now apologies everybody if I'm pronouncing names wrong. When you hit the wall during marathon training, running a marathon, what keeps you focused on the finish line? Well, thanks very much for the question firstly. With regards to hitting the wall, I've actually only hit the wall kind of once, and that was actually on a training run, and it was for my first marathon, and I hadn't fueled properly and I felt awful. Yeah, I was at about 15-16 miles on a training run and I really hadn't fueled properly. I didn't know much about fueling. I was taking like jelly babies or something like that, and it really didn't do enough. So yeah, so I hit the wall, I felt awful, I walked, I got myself back together, then I finished the run. A good way to focus on if you hit the wall, well, firstly, the most important thing is not to hit the wall. And what I would suggest is that you make sure you practice your fueling strategies, you get the right amount of carb intake, you get the right amount of electrolytes and all that sort of stuff during your long runs. Practice it in your long runs so you avoid hitting the wall. That's the essential thing. If you do hit it, don't worry about it. It happens to us all. Just walk it out, relax, calm down, focus on the next kilometre, focus on the next mile, focus on getting yourself some hydration, that kind of stuff. Give yourself a bit of a mental talking to, you know, put it down to one of those things. But yeah, just try and avoid it in the first place and get some fuel and make sure you get the right fueling strategy. Next question is from Sam Simmons, and favourite event and why? Favourite event's got to be the Great North Run, which is cool because we've got it coming up. The Great North Run is an awesome event. It's what's the best way to, if anybody's done London Marathon, the crowds are amazing, shouting your name, and it's an experience to behold. But the Great North Run is just like one big party. The people of the Northeast are some of the friendliest people you'll ever meet, and the whole town gets behind the event. It's just awesome, and until you've done it, you won't know what I mean. And then when you hit down in the beach and down in South Shields, when you go down the big hill, and you hear the roar of the crowd along the seafront, it's amazing. It really is. It's such a special event. I love it. I think this is going to be my 4th year this year, and I look forward to it every year. It's one of the first ones on my list. So yeah, the Great North Run. Right, next question is from Rachel Verrill. Again, apologies if I said this wrong, and this is from Facebook. Do you need to do recovery runs? You don't need to do anything, but recovery runs are great. I love my recovery runs, and funnily enough, I've got a video coming out soon about recovery runs. They are awesome because I use them to get a good gauge of where I am fitness wise. If I go and do a race or event and then I go and do a recovery run and my legs feel heavy or they feel fatigued or whatever, I know that maybe I'm a little bit behind in my fitness, or there's something else going on that I need to check. So it's a bit of an MOT on a Monday to know where your body's at. That's how I use recovery runs. Obviously they've got benefits of getting rid of lactic acid and getting your legs moving and all that kind of stuff. The only thing I would say is if you don't feel like doing it the next day, don't push yourself too hard, because it's not worth risking getting injured. But for me, recovery runs are a bit of a winner. Right, next question, if you can hear me because it is a bit windy, is from Stevie G _runs from Instagram. When did I get into running, and why did I set up the community? I got into running, well, I got back into it. I did running at school. I did 400 metres and a bit of hurdles, but 400 metres was my sort of specialist subject, let's call it like that. And then I got into football and I did all other stuff, and then I got back into running. My brother-in-law got me back into running because I wanted to lose some weight from where Nick had the kids, the Scarlett, our first child. I put on weight, I think like most dads do, so I wanted to get back and I wanted to get fit. So that's why I started running originally. So big shout out to my brother-in-law Paul, who got me into running. And what was the other bit? Oh, about the community. So why did I set up the Fordy Runs running community? Well, I set up the Fordy Runs running community because I was going to races and events on my own, and I didn't know anybody, and I was looking around and I saw all these other people on their own, and I thought, why is everybody sitting around on their own? It didn't make any sense to me, because we go out and train on our own, and then we go and race an event on our own, and that to me doesn't make any sense. So I set up the running community on Facebook because I wanted to bring runners together, but more importantly I wanted to bring runners of all abilities together, because there's a lot of people out there who have different abilities, fast, slow, you know, and they're doing running for different reasons, whether it be mental health or to lose weight like I was doing originally, and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to bring those people together. It's obviously come together. We're now like 4,000 in the main running community, but overall I think with all our other running communities we're nearly 7,000 people, which is just amazing. So runners from different walks of life, and I say from different abilities, which is just awesome. So yeah, that's why I started the Fordy Runs running community. Next question from Laura Dawson from the Facebook running community. Running hero and why? Well, my running heroes is everybody in the Fordy Runs running community. That might sound a bit cheesy, but everybody in there is awesome, and they're all doing different things, and they're all trying to push and trying to have a laugh and enjoy themselves. But I say they're all out running, which is something amazing. So it's a bit of a corny answer to your question. If I had to pick one, well, I'll pick two people. Probably my brother-in-law, because he's an absolute machine at running, and I love him at bits, and he got me into running. So yeah, he's a running hero of mine. And probably Billy. So some of you people seen Billy on the channel. Billy's an inspiration because of the amount of weight he's lost and what he's done with his running and what he's achieved with his running, how dedicated he is to it. I think he symbolises what Fordy Runs running community is all about. He has a laugh, he's doing running for his own reason, but he gets together and he's made some amazing friends, and I say he just loves it. So yeah, they're my sort of 2 running heroes, if that's what I'm allowed. So next question is from Amanda Lonsdale. I think this one came from Facebook, I'm not sure. Does Mrs. Fordy run, and what does she think of the Fordy Runs show? Well, firstly, yes, she does a bit. Mrs. Fordy is a dance teacher, so she does a lot of aerobic stuff anyway, and occasionally she runs when she's got time. She helps me out with the Fordy Runs Juniors, which is awesome. So we run a program, run a bunch of sessions to get kids active who are not yet old enough to join an athletics club or running club, that kind of thing. So we try and make it a bit fun. So we get the kids locally active, and she helps out with that, which is amazing. So yes, she does run a bit. Not much, she'd like to run a little bit more, but she does run. And with regards to the Fordy Run show, she's amazing. She's very, very supportive of the Fordy Run show. As I say, she helps out with stuff like the Fordy Runs Juniors and some of the events and stuff we do, particularly locally. And she kind of just rolls her eyes and sighs when I just do my thing at events and races and stuff like that. Next question is from Ellen Kate. What do I normally eat before a run? The night before a race or a long run, I will have a plain bowl of pasta with literally just tomato sauce on it. It is very boring and very dull, and that's what I have on, let's say, a Friday or Saturday, depending when I'm running. In the morning of the race, I always have plain porridge, and it's either 1 or 2 sachets depending on what distance I'm doing. It is as simple as that. I have that with water. I don't have it with milk, I have it with water, and I have that about 2 to 3 hours beforehand, and that kind of sorts me out for what I need with regards to carbs and stuff like that for the morning of a race or an event. I do run starved a fair bit, particularly if I'm half marathon training. I tend to do a lot of my training starved, so I won't have any breakfast. So I'll have something obviously bigger on a Saturday night, let's say, or a Friday night. Then I'll run that race starved. It just feels better on my stomach. But anything over like 22k, I tend to have porridge in the morning, wait a couple of hours, and then go and do my run. Next question is from Jack_Jigson on Insta, I think this was, might have been Twitter. How do you keep motivation up? Motivation is quite an easy thing for me, actually, because running helps me mentally with my mental health and the issues that I struggle with, and for other reasons why I run, like, you know, keep the weight off and all that kind of stuff. Running motivation is something I don't lack in. If you are lacking in motivation, best thing to do is sign up for an event. Obviously join the Fordy Runs running community, because the support and love you'll get in there. But really, the best thing I can say is sign up for an event. Right, next one's from Nadine Glass and bruised toenails. She had a question about bruised toenails. The best advice I can give with regards to bruised toenails is actually sort your lacing out. We've got a video coming out in the next few weeks about lacing, but definitely check lacing on your shoes. They might be too tight, or they might not be done correctly, especially if you are having problems with that. Also check that your shoes are wide enough. A lot of shoes out there for some reason at the moment are very narrow. I know Nike have gone very narrow with their shoes, so again, check that. Right, when training for an event, do you surpass the race distance in your long runs? This is from Chris_Hardy84 on Instagram. So thanks for your question, Chris. I do. You don't have to. If it's your first event or first race, so let's say you're training for your first half, I wouldn't necessarily bother. I think for my first half, I went up to about 11 miles, and I would suggest something the same for you. If you're doing several events, you know, you're now into more of a, like, say, not an experienced runner, because I don't even class myself as an experienced runner, but if you're, you know, you're doing regular events, then I would try and go past your running distance, because you're probably then working on pace, technique, and all that kind of stuff. But first timers, no, not necessarily. Anybody after that, yes, I would. Do I reward myself after a race? If so, how? Victoria Roberts. Thanks very much, Victoria. Rewards after a race, I mean, firstly, food. I love to eat, but yeah, usually, and it might seem really simple, but I just love to have a coffee, a massive skinny latte. That's a huge treat for me. So I'll go to Starbucks with Billy or Costa, and we usually smash out a big fat skinny latte. I love them. But yeah, then I'll eat everything in the house. That's how I usually reward myself. I don't go out and buy stuff or do anything like that. I just tend to eat. Next question is from Sarah Humphreys. Views on tailwind. Tailwind, yeah. Now, there's pros and cons of tailwind. I have tried it, and actually, funnily enough, I'm probably going to do a review on tailwind. I see a lot of positive stuff about it and a lot of negative stuff about it, and it comes down to personal choice. I tried it, but what the problem I had with tailwind is the fact that I had to carry it with me, and then in longer races, like, you then had to take some in a sachet and then put it into cups and all this mucking about, and I can't be doing with it. It is good stuff, but it's aggravation. So if you don't want to take gels and you don't mind carrying it on you, then go for it. A lot of people recommend it and a lot of people swear by it, but for me it was a lot of hassle. Right, next question's from the Fordy Runs Facebook group, and this comes from Nadine Langham. I'm going through a real running slump at the Mo. Pace is slowing and no PBs for a long time. How can I get my mojo back along with my times? Well, thanks for the question, Nadine. Right, where do you start with that? Firstly, running slump, we all have them, myself included. We all go through running slumps, so don't worry about that. And the key straight away is not to focus and think that you're in a running slump. So that's number one. A lot of it, as you know, is mental, Nadine. Pace is slowing. Well, that's probably because you are training for a marathon. I know you're training for Chelmsford like myself, so why focus on your pace and worry about it going slow? I really wouldn't worry about it. How do I get my mojo back? I would stop putting pressure on yourself. I would listen to yourself and take maybe your watch off for a couple of runs, get yourself along to a few park runs. Maybe if you're thinking about your pace is slowing, then maybe instead of concentrating on the fact that you're going too slow or PBs and all this sort of stuff, forget about those sort of doing it on longer runs, and maybe while you're training for a Chelmsford marathon or a marathon, focus on maybe your park run PB. So I've said it, I think, in a video before, use your park run, if you do park runs, if not do a 5k, as a tempo run, and try and use that as a PB chasing element, a speed element, while you're training for a marathon, and then focus on the other sorts of runs like hill runs, your long runs obviously, and that kind of stuff. Getting your mojo back is a hard thing, because if you're not lucky enough to run with people and stuff like that, it can be tricky. But definitely, obviously, sign up for an event. Get yourself a plan in place. They can help. So you've got some sort of structure to your training that can help get your mojo back. Run with people if you can, like I say, chase times at park runs, all that kind of stuff. But the biggest sort of mental tip I can give you is focus on the present, focus on the now, focus on what you can control. Look at one run at a time. Don't focus on what you're doing in the future. Just focus on your next run and try and finish with a smile, and sooner or later it will start coming back, trust me. So last question from Doug Barber, and big shout out to everybody actually who asked me questions this week. We could have done about a 3-hour video, but we'll finish on this one, and we'll do another one of these Q&As, because the amount of questions I got was insane. So apologies to anybody who I've missed. There were so many questions, but from Doug Barber, what inspired me to start running, and how would you inspire others? I touched on it earlier about how I started running and why I started running. What I would say, running has continued to help me. I mentioned it in a video the other week, what a tough year I've had away from the camera, and running has really saved me. If you're struggling up here with issues, stresses, and you're finding it tough, life's, you know, really getting down on you or whatever, firstly talk to somebody, tell somebody about it. There's a lot of help out there, so don't feel like you're on your own. But I really would recommend running. Running will help you. It won't sort everything out, but it will help you in your mind. It'll make you feel better. It might give you some clarity. So definitely try running, but most importantly, talk about it. But yeah, so you know, that's part of the reason why I continue to run and continue to do what I do, because it helps me in life and deal with, you know, ups and downs. With regards to inspiring others, well, I get inspiration from everybody in the Fordy Runs running community. That might sound cheesy, but it's true. With, you know, so many different stories, so many different people, why they run and the reasons they run. Obviously, I work for a few charities. That inspires me to run, to see if we can raise money and help good causes. But inspiring others, I think with the Fordy Runs Juniors that we do, the Fordy Runs Running Club for Juniors, we started a program, sessions of helping kids get into running, or who are running but enjoy their running. So whether they're too young for running clubs or athletics clubs, or there's too much pressure at those clubs to come along, we put it on for an hour and we basically have fun, and the kids enjoy it and they get running, and they're not sitting in front of an Xbox, or they're not, you know, on their phones and stuff like that. So hopefully that is something that will inspire some of the kids. That is really important to me. And yeah, I suppose turning up to events, training for events. I'm not a particularly good runner. I wouldn't say I'm particularly fast. I have a terrible running technique. I mean, terrible running technique. But hopefully by me training for stuff, showing that I can do it, as I'm a lazy person in general, and I struggle, like I just mentioned, with everything else, like everybody else. I have the same hang-ups as everybody else. So hopefully me being able to do stuff will inspire everybody else, the fact that they can do it. And I think that's a good way to finish this video this week. Again, massive shout out to everybody on Instagram, Twitter, and the Facebook running communities who sent me questions. We're gonna have to do this again. I've got a question for you. I'm really interested to know where you guys are with regards to your running, and why you're running, and what you're training for, and all that kind of stuff. I really want to know a little bit more about you, so stick them in the comments below. Give me a bit of detail on what you're running, why you're running, who you're running for, all that sort of stuff, and also where you're from. So stick them in the comments below. Let me know a little bit more about you. Hopefully you get to know a little bit more about me after today's video, and we'll try and do one of these again, maybe in a couple of months. We've got a busy few weeks coming up on Fordy Runs, so make sure you subscribe, like I said before. Make sure you always check the description, like I said before, and I'll catch you guys later.